Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Salt episode 5, where we're going to discuss goal setting. This is David, and this is.
Hey guys, I'm Justin. Thanks for tuning in. We're glad to have you with us again. Isaac couldn't be with us today, but today we're talking about goal setting and pretty excited about this topic. It's a very robust
Yeah,
topic. There's a whole lot of information. We're going to cram as much as we possibly can in the short amount of time we're going to shoot here. But what I wanted to kick off with, David, is there is a whole lot of literature, authors, books, different material out there on goals that's just wrong. And there's a lot of material out there.
yeah,
Goal setting really became a subject matter in the 40s, and you had a lot of writers around 1940 that started really conceptualizing goals and somewhat in the way that obviously goal setting's been around for forever, but really started
sure,
targeting into what goal setting was and trying to define it. And then you had a lot of people that were authors that were they hadn't done a lot of study on it, so they're just repeating what other authors that really didn't know what they were talking about were writing. And so what you've got is just a
sure.
continuation for years and years and years from people that maybe didn't have the ability to study goals like we do today. If I'll give you some examples. One example is, it's a commonly put out there that the goals should be set in concrete. That goals should not be fluid, which is we're going to talk a little bit about that more as we get in to some of the micro content here. But that's a misconception. But a lot of people go around talking about how goals should be fixed and concrete, and there is no plan B. But that's just wrong. The other thing I wanted to mention too is about goals. Made some notes here. Misconception that I think we can clear up tonight is speaking goals in the present tense, almost like an affirmation, like I'm a millionaire and I own a boat and I've got a huge business when you don't. And we're going to talk a lot
Yeah,
about. We're going to discuss why that doesn't really work and give you some takeaways then of what you can do practically. I think you're going to really get a lot out of the show to takeaways that you can practically put into your business, into your life, when it comes to goal setting that'll really make you more effective.
100%, Justin. And kind of what I've realized throughout, my goal setting process and looking at different events in my life. And I felt a huge misconception and I guess a huge snag that I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, we run into. And one of those is setting colossal goals or really large goals without setting small, simple goals that are maybe a little bit easier to achieve. And again, I think that's a muscle you have to work on. If you're going to start running or you're going to be a marathon runner, you don't start with a marathon, right? You start with small, simple goals. So you're working on really your goal is achieving a skill. So your first skill is to be able to, maybe run half a mile. And then you're going to work on that goal a little bit larger. There's nothing wrong with setting a big picture goal, guys, but you also have to set achievable goals. And the reason why I'm saying this is because it's very easy to get discouraged with a goal that's set 10 years out. And again, Justin, that kind of runs into that concrete part where you start getting discouraged because you're thinking, well, I've been working on this for the past, 3 years and it's set in stone and it has to be this way. But maybe something in my life changed or my situation changed. And now, guys, you have this one goal in your life that you can no longer achieve. And man, how horrible does that feel? I can't imagine how you'd feel if that came crushing down on you, that goal is no longer achievable and you can't really, since you built a box for your goal and kind of caged your goals, man, that's really soul crushing, guys.
Well, you touched on three or four great points there, and one of them is I'll go back to something you said earlier about a muscle, and I think this is something that a lot of people may be frustrated with. But being a good goal setter and maybe a good goal getter is a skill. It's something that's teachable. It's something that's learnable. It's akin to being able to ride a bike. The first time you rode a bike, it was awkward and didn't feel right. But after practice, hopefully you became pretty fluid with riding a bike. Goal setting is the same way. It's a learnable skill. So if you're not a great goal setter or you feel like you're frustrated with the goals that you do set, one, you should be assured that you can get better, you can progress, you can learn how to do it to be more effective and get more confidence in it. Number two, you mentioned about those goals being in concrete, and then what happens when you don't attain them. That's a really critical point because when you set a goal and it's fixed in concrete and you don't have the ability to change it, even though life may change, and you miss the goal, then you feel like a failure. I mean, you really are turning the whole idea of goal setting into an emotional, crushing disappointment. And it doesn't really, that's not the point of goal setting. Goal setting should be a more positive, fluid, living, breathing, progressive type activity. And, who wants to feel like a failure? Now, once you feel like a failure 2 or 3 or 4 times and you have no way to get back on track to your fixed goal, what do most people do after they failed 2 or 3 times and they feel like they can never get back and obtain their fixable goal? They quit because they're just so they quit. And that's why, just like a budget, if you're a budgeter with your finances, your budget has to be fluid. It changes as life changes. You wreck your car and have to pay $1,000 deductible. You weren't planning on that. Things have to change in your budget. If you have a business goals, I promise you things aren't going to go exactly as they are on paper. And that means they have to be fluid. Yeah. And that brings me to one more point I can throw in if I can, and that is you have to write your goals down. And I know everybody that is even successful people all know they need to write their goals down. Just like in a budget, you've got to write your budget down. I don't care. I've worked with so many people on personal finance and business finance. I can't tell you how many people will nod their head and act like they get it. Like, I know you got to write your budget down. Do you have a written budget? No, but I'm gonna do that. But it's like step one. I mean, it's the very first thing you still got to start doing. Yeah. And so how do you move forward to day two? You got to write your goals down.
100%. And I love that you brought that up, Justin. Here's the goals, and you guys probably can't see it because of lighting. But these are my goals of things I need to accomplish in this show, and it's totally doable. But I want to jump into kind of what you're saying about, making a list. I think that's huge, man. And Simon Sinek talks actually about this in TED Talks when he talks more about the scientific side of the 4 chemicals that are responsible for happiness. So, dopamine being one of those. Mm-hmm. I believe it was dopamine. Don't quote me, guys. I'm not a rocket scientist or a neurosurgeon.
Can you spell
in
that
there, he
so I
talks
can look
about
it up?
Sure. So
it starts with a D. It's a D word.
That's my next goal.
Yeah.
That's my next goal.
You can spell the dope part.
Okay, so yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you. Yeah. So what happens when you actually cross something off a list, the reason it feels good is one of those chemicals responsible for happiness, 25% of that chemical, and dopamine releases into your brain. So it actually has a physiological effect, other than just helping your pride. And I think that takes us to another topic, which is failure. Here's the flip side, guys. I think when you set these small, attainable goals, micro, whatever you want to call them, and you actually succeed, you should have some type of celebration. And I don't mean that means go out on Saturday night, get plastered, right? But I think whatever celebration means for you guys, what truly makes you happy when you're not working, we've all got something, right? Some kind of hobby that we really like to do. So I think you should celebrate that. And the reason I think that that's important is, again, you're putting that motivation back into yourself, that you're getting some sort of reward. Look, we're all a little bit animalistic. To get rewards, it feels nice. So I think it's important to set those small goals, and when you achieve them, make sure that you reward yourself. Make your goals public. Let other people know how important it is to you that you achieve, some of your goals, obviously, guys, not all of them. But it's important that other people also know that, you're going through this. Maybe there's a good support system there. But at the same time, it kind of holds you accountable if you're not the type of person that can hold yourself accountable.
I feel like we're reading off the same script tonight. And, for those of you who don't know, we actually don't collaborate about these shows at all in advance, other than topic. But you said something that is on my notes or my goals. I'm in 2016, so mine are on digital form. But, actually almost 2017 here in a couple days.
Yeah.
But you said small goals. And I want to highlight, and I think this is very important, that we've been trained through, I think, a lot of literature, self-help books and development, that the big goal is the one that you need to have the most fixation on. That the big goal is the most important goal. And I can remember after reading, and I'm a huge reader, I can remember receiving instruction that you should, go cut that, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but go cut that airplane out and put it on your fridge, and go cut out that house you want and go put it on your mirror. And I'm not saying that that's not positive things. I'm only saying that the small goal is more important than the big goal, because the small goal is what's going to get you there. And the small goal is what you can accomplish today. You can't get to the big goal today. But it's those small goals and piecing them together, like you said, and then you said to celebrate and reward yourself. It's piecing those small goals that are the most important things, because you can win today. You can set the, and this, David, this goes back to our last show last week when we
Yeah,
talked about time management. We talked about
100%.
identifying the why before you do anything, but then we talked about identifying priorities. And those priorities should be the things that are actually going to kill something, that are productive. And if you merge what we talked about last week and this week, those priorities are what we're talking about today. They're about these small goals that you set to get to the end goal.
Exactly. And I don't think, and Justin, again, last show, you said kind of maybe an unpopular thing, but on my side, I believe this is kind of unpopular, that a plane is not really a goal, guys. That's not really a goal. A plane is a motivation, right? It's a motivational tool, but it's also a reward more than it's really a goal. The goal, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know an analogy off the top of my head, guys, to explain that, but I'm really hoping that makes sense, that a car is not the goal. A car is just a part of your lifestyle that you're leading once you achieve that goal. And Justin, I'm a firm believer that I think the why really ties in to the big goal, or the colossal goal. And really the big goal, guys, I would personally urge you to make your really big goals self-development goals, more than I want a car or I want to sell $1 million. I think it's more of a self-development. Make those small goals focused on skills so that you can attain some of your little bit larger goals to work up to be the better version of you, whether that's being a better business person, a better husband, a better athlete, whatever that is that really makes you guys happy. I think the big goals, again, I'm going to beat a dead horse. Self-development has to be the big goal. Find out really where you want to be in 10 years, what type of person that is, and set goals to make yourself that type of person.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. And you said, one thing that I've really learned. You said 10 years, but if you read a lot of the literature that's out there on goals, it talks about the long-term goal, the big goal, and the long-term goals. And long-term goals are typically defined as 10, 20-year goals. But I'm telling you, in the business world today and in life, my long-term goals now are 1 and 2 years out, because things change so dramatically. And if
Yeah.
you're a shaker and a mover, I mean, if you're a real hustler, you have absolutely no idea what opportunities are going to be around the corner 4 years from now, let alone 20 years from now. But
Yep.
I think that comes back to the older perspective or worldview. 20, 30, 40 years ago, people went to work, they stayed with one company, they went to college, they went to work for one company, their goal was to stay there for 30 or 40 years and retire. It's easier to set bigger long-term goals if that's the frame. But this whole world with technology and everything that's going on, it's a completely different animal. And I think I think our long-term goals actually need to be shorter. So I think we need to look 1, 2, 3 years out. Nothing wrong with a 20-year plan, but I'm telling you,
Sure.
if your goals are fixed and they're in concrete and they're 20 years out, you're not you're destined to fail. I also want to can I make another point on
Yeah.
what you said about personal
Yeah. Go
development?
ahead.
Because I think a lot of these skills can apply. A lot of times goals are set into money or into business, but goal setting works in any area of your life, just like you mentioned. So if you want to lose weight, or if you want to be more athletic, or if you want to be, like you said, a better husband, then these goals, these practical skills that we're talking about, are easily deployed in any of those areas of your life.
100%, Justin. I mean, making sure that it's achievable. And the other thing, guys, is sometimes setting those big goals. And again, I don't want to kick this around too much. Setting goals that are achievable. What I mean by that is maybe it's a goal that somebody has accomplished before. You're looking at X, Y, Z, but sometimes not being able to visualize really what the goal is and setting it into kind of an arena that maybe nobody's done before, to jump into that right off. Again, I know I don't want to beat a dead horse here, guys, but I think it is really important to set achievable goals and realistic goals, and not just focus on things that you would like, but things that you can actually get done. One of my goals, guys, could be, I'm not a big reader. I digest a lot of content. media or through other platforms. So if I was going to start a goal for me to start reading more, I would obviously go into a topic that I was more interested in, right? And as I worked my way up and increased my vocabulary, I might move on to a little bit better literature. But I think, again, guys, it's really important that you keep these goals not only realistic, but so that they're aligned with your purpose, and a little bit more of what you talked about, Justin, last episode, that, guys, goals can really help identify weaknesses in your current thought processes and kind of how you're caring about just generally in life. They can really help you. Like, let's say you wanted to be a great marketer. That's your goal. Well, that's kind of a broad goal. So you're going to start setting these little milestones for yourself, and you're going to start ticking them off and achieving them and ticking them off and achieving them. But you might run across some where you're like, oh, no, I really don't know what to do here. So you're going to have to take a step back and say, what am I missing? So what's another goal I need to add to this list to be able to achieve this? And I think that, Justin, that goes back again. Without experience and without practice, how do you really know how to achieve that large goal? So you got to start really planning for your line for the future of really where you want to be, and align yourself with that awareness of where you need to go and where you currently are.
You know, I got a couple of more quick points, but I think there's a great analogy to what you just mentioned, and that's with this show. And I think we talk a lot about our little project here with the salt and how it identifies with the concepts that we talk about. But you know, when we started this show four weeks ago, we committed to we're going to do 52 episodes. That's our long-term goal. We're going to do 52 episodes. Now, to get there, we have to set smaller goals to make sure that we do an episode every week. And that's the part that we can accomplish, and that's the part that we can stick to. But, you know, you can't do 52 if you don't do one each week. But when you break it down that way, and you don't stay so focused, and sometimes I think we live way too much 20 years down the road, and we're so distracted by it that we forget, hey, what do I got to go kill today? You know, what I got to go do today? One other thing I wanted to throw out about goals, I had a couple more notes here written down. I think this is a real practical exercise, guys. And if you don't know this, I think this will really help you. And that is, when you set a goal, always start with the word to. We've been brainwashed to set goals like I am this, or I will be this, or not will be, but in the present tense, like I'm a millionaire, or I'm a successful marketer, or I'm, you know, it's way more effective to set goals and just start with the word to. So to lose 15 pounds in a healthy way. That's a great attainable goal, better than I got a 12 pack of abs while I'm eating Doritos sitting on the couch and I'm 100 pounds overweight. You know, so
Yeah.
can I say that? I mean, I guess I can say that. But
yeah, you can say whatever you want.
you gotta start with the word to. It'll help you write better goals if you always start with the word to. To build, and then date goals. So start with the word to and date your goals. So, you know, to write a business plan in the next 90 days. That's so you know, it maybe doesn't always start with to. I would if I were you, but I think it'll definitely help you set a better goal with a date. To do this by this time is the easiest way to frame a goal. Does that make sense?
Hey, fun little tidbit, and this is kind of off subject. I don't want to go too off kilter, but a very intelligent person told me the other day, like, if you run late for a meeting, your verbiage should not be, hey, sorry guys, I was late. It's, hey guys, I appreciate you waiting for me. Mm-hmm. Instead of apologizing, letting them know, hey, I appreciate you. Go ahead, Justin. That was cool.
No, I mean, really, that's I think those are some really, I mean, that's jam-packed stuff right there. I think it really covers goals in a pretty good frame.
Yeah, so guys, what we want you to do, and what my personal goal for you would be, is to start today, right when you're watching this video, and write down a couple goals that you can achieve maybe over, you know, the next couple days. Just maybe some simple goals, cross those off your list, start training that muscle, start building it. Focus on those small goals and achievable skills and work on your personal development. But understand, look, guys, having a why and really having a reason in life, the big picture, that's really going to motivate you. And if, you know, it's looking at a cool car, or it's reading a cool quote, or listening to the salt that motivates you or inspires you. Boom. I know I tend to make great goals, or when I write down my goals, I write better goals when I'm motivated and I'm inspired. So make sure, guys, also when you're writing this stuff down, that you're in a mood where you're going to push yourself a little bit, where you're going to be a little bit more inspired instead of being, pissed off and writing this stuff down where it's like, go to the grocery store. Well, yeah, okay, we know you can do that, but do inspirational goals that kind of push yourself a little bit, work on that muscle, train yourself. And man, I wish you guys all the luck in the world. I think you can attain anything as long as you have grit and you're consistent and you stick with it and accomplish it. Hold yourself accountable. We'll hold you accountable. Send us a message on Instagram. Tell us one of your goals, and I'll make sure you say, hey, Dave, I got a week to do this, and I'm going to ask you in a week on Instagram via Messenger, hey, have you accomplished this yet? And if you haven't, I'll even make a little shame post about you if you want me to keep you motivated. So, Justin, I think that really covers what I wanted to cover anyway.
Yeah, homework. They could write a goal to watch The Salt every Wednesday at 6. That's a good one.
And subscribe. That's a really good one.
Subscribe. Hey,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm wrapping up. You got anything else to add?
Not really, man. I do want to link that. I'll link that Simon Sinek talk on TED Talks in the info section, guys, below, so you can check that out. It's really good stuff.
Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode on goal setting. David here and Justin. Isaac will be with us next week, and he's still out with the holidays. But watch us next week where we're going to talk about marketing, and we're going to look at marketing kind of from a 30,000-foot view. We hope you join us. We're also shooting a behind-the-scenes video that you can check out on our YouTube as well. We'd like your feedback. We'd like your questions about any of the content we've got going on. Please subscribe below and like our video. And if you have any suggestions about how we can be better or how we can be worse, we'd love to hear them. And have a great week and set some awesome goals.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you.